Good morning, everyone. I'm Colette Bartow, the Continuing Education Coordinator with the State Library. And we are starting off 2024 with our webinar series with something that I hope that everyone will be excited about. I know I am very excited about this. Joe Lanning from Billings Public Library is going to share about video games in the library. And with that, I want to just hand things right over to Joe to get us started. And we will just
Take it from there.
yeah, take it away, Joe.
Well, first I want to say, obviously, thank you everybody very much for coming out today and being a part of this webinar. Both everybody that's live in house today, thank you very much. For anybody that watches it in the future, hopefully you'll get some good information from this, and I can sell the case on why I think everybody should do it, because I think this collection is amazing. So yes, I am Joe Lanning. I'm a reference librarian with the Billings Public Library. I'm now the archivist for it as well. But I used to be the AV librarian. And while I was in that role, I pretty much went to work right away, both advocating for and then creating our video game collection. Now, that said, I surely didn't do it alone. I had a lot of help, and I relied heavily on my colleagues, their constant ideas and suggestions, and as I'm sure you will as well. But I presented on this same topic last year at the MLA here in Billings, and I thought I'd reach out to Colette in the state to see if they were interested in creating a digital resource out of that discussion for those who couldn't attend, or for those who had recently become interested in starting a similar collection. So today, what I want to share with you is basically how we did it in Billings, and explain some of the decisions we made in an effort to provide you with some practical information on how you can create a similar collection at your library. So I'm going to start with my spiel on why I think a game collection deserves a place in every library, and then I'll move on rather quickly to what you'll need to start one, and then end on how you can secure it. So I'm going to start right off the bat here. Why should you create a video game collection at your library? Why should you consider redirecting a portion of a limited budget, or applying for a grant, or asking for funding from your friends or foundation? And simply stated, it's because you'll be providing access, of course, to extremely popular materials that people definitely love checking out for free. Many patrons have told us how they appreciate being able to test the game for free via our collection, which allows them then to decide whether or not they want to plop down $60 for a copy of their own. That's step one, or point one. They are sought after by patrons of all ages, by children, by teens, by adults, who are going to place holds on them and check them out constantly. We went a period for several months, as a matter of fact, where everything in our collection was perpetually checked out, put on hold, but the cupboards were bare. It was a wonderful problem to have. We kind of had to remind people that, yes, we do have a video game collection. You can't see it because it's all gone, but you can still get them via hold or luck. And it doesn't matter whether you're a small branch or a massive branch or something in between. Games are going to become a very popular part of your collection. Here in Billings, Lewis and Clark and Helena, Laramie, Wyoming, Provo, Utah, Rochester, Minnesota. I've spoken with collection managers from all those libraries and even more, and they all cannot speak highly enough about their collections. And we all encourage you to start one of your own. We also know, though, that hesitancy is likely to exist. Concerns about theft, if the money will be well spent, or how much you'll even need to start. Maybe you're trying to convince a dubious manager, or maybe you are completely on board, but you're just wondering, okay, so where do I start? And we all had to find answers to these questions, and I'm happy to be sharing some of them with you today. As you'd imagine, there are often multiple answers and approaches for each of them, and you'll find yours. And once you've done it, I want to assure you that it is all worth the effort. I've never talked with a librarian who regretted starting a collection. I've never talked with a librarian who regretted inheriting a collection, or who was planning on even downsizing theirs, let alone getting rid of it. So with that assurance, right, in mind, now that I've eliminated all your concerns, hopefully, I'm going to dive right into resources. and talk about the console I recommend you start with. I'll also talk about how much funding we use to start our collection in Billings, and then how you can decide which games to purchase, both in the beginning phase and then moving on as time goes on and you're developing the collection more and more. There's going to be a good amount of information in this module, but I will take questions at the end of it when we transition to the next one, if anybody has any questions. So with that being said, let's jump into resources. The first thing you're going to want to figure out is which console you're going to start with. Your choices are basically the Nintendo Switch, and that's kind of it. That's where the sentence kind of ends. Technically, you can also go with the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, the Xbox One, which is the older one, or the Xbox Series X, that's the newer one. You can do all of them. You can mix and match. And there's definitely collection managers who manage that kind of a collection every single day at their library. But in my opinion, and in the opinion of pretty much every librarian I've talked to, and I've posed this question to specifically for this webinar, unless you have an immense budget to play around with, and or really know the world of video gaming, or you have a few colleagues on your staff who do know the world of video gaming and they're willing to feed you great information constantly, we think you should start with the Switch, the Nintendo Switch, and then expand from there as the years go on. And there are a couple really good reasons, I think, for going this route. I'll share this with you. So the number one reason is the immensely popular titles that come out only on the Switch, right? Like all the Mario games, all the Zelda games, all the Pokemon games, all the games on this list here in front of you right now, right, come out only on the Switch. It is up until number 23. So that's the first 22 games on this list are Switch exclusive games. Now, that being said, okay, that's not necessarily true. Some of them are also made for the Wii, but you see what I mean? It's still a Nintendo product. They're not multi-platform. They're just Nintendo products. But most people play them on the Switch nowadays. Now, these are some of the most successful best-selling franchises in all of video gaming, right? And PlayStation and Xbox, they do also have their own exclusive titles, but they are not nearly as popular as these Nintendo titles. And you can also check this out for yourself just by taking a look at, for one instance, we all trust Wikipedia. Wikipedia's best-selling video games list really shows what I mean by this. There are a ton of Nintendo games on that list, but there's also a ton of multi-platform. But you have to go all the way to like number 43 before you see the first PlayStation exclusive, and then number 45 before you see the first Xbox One. In between that, you see pretty much almost all of these titles that just show, again, like the immense popularity of these titles within Nintendo. The second best reason I can give you would be taken from this list as well, would be the vast majority of these Switch games have an ESRB, so the Entertainment Software Rating Board, rating of E or E10 plus, all right, as you can see here. Once again, you have to go all the way down to number 23 before you've reached your first T-rated game, let alone the first M-rated game for Nintendo, which is, I think, close to the 40s. So that means the majority of the titles, again, best-selling titles, are friendly for people of all ages to play. And people of all ages will and do and will play these games. Adults check out Mario games, and adults check out Zelda and Pokemon games. So do kids, so do teens, but it's really every age demographic checks these titles out. You might see number 2 right up there, Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is number 2 on this list because of the COVID outbreak, more or less. I remember a ton of people on social media back during that period of March of 2020 talking about how they were playing the game while quarantined. Adults, 20 and 30 and 40-year-olds. These games are definitely, experienced and enjoyed by people of all ages. That's number 2. And lastly, for the third reason, this is my personal opinion. I mean, you could pick a lot of things for number 3, but in my opinion, they're very durable because they're basically SD cards. And I think that's important because We want to avoid having to replace them for any reason, obviously. So we don't have to worry about, scratches or rebuffering or anything like that. They can take quite a spill, quite a header off a roof even kind of thing. They're not going to break. They're not going to be damaged. So I think durability is an important point. That's why I think you should start with the Switch. Those are the reasons why I think that console is really the best reason, or the best one to go with off the bat. Um, we'll talk a little bit about funding as well. If anybody has any questions in between this point now and then, I guess I could be more than happy to answer them. But before I get into funding, yeah, I just want to make that point about consoles. Again, you can mix and match the collections and stuff like that, but I do think that the Switch is the most family friendly and all. Cole, do you have a
Yeah, so there was a question about, did you consider the Wii as one of the consoles? I think you've kind of touched on that a bit, but I didn't know if you wanted to expand on that in particular.
we didn't. It seems to me that the Wii is when video game collections exist at a library, it seems like the Wii, when I was doing my research, was the something that the library had started with years ago and that was still in their collection. But I haven't come across any collection managers who actively still purchase Wii titles. I have not put a lot of effort into finding out because we don't maintain that collection, obviously. But I don't know how many Wii titles are currently being produced, or I guess I don't know how many video games are being produced for the Wii also at this point. I know a lot come out for the Switch, but I don't know how many come out for the Wii. So it's not something I've looked into. I think that the amount of games available would be rather limited, but I might be wrong about that. But no, I did not consider the Wii when we started.
No, that's great. Thanks. And we'll circle back to some of these if there are other questions. Don't hesitate for everybody, put those questions in chat, or you can use the Q&A feature and we'll circle back to those.
So we'll talk about funding. I spent a lot of time thinking about what should I say on this, and I really just came to, the final statement would be, honestly, whatever you have is going to work. You could have a $500 budget or a $5,000 budget. Regardless, you're going to be able to build a collection that your patrons will appreciate and will check out. This is a list I threw together a couple days ago just to show like what you could buy if you had a $600 budget to start with. If you just want to do like a kind of proof of concept period or phase. If you picked just these up, they would definitely get checked out. They maybe even, again, like the problem we had perpetually for months, you may never see them until they come in and they immediately go back out because they're put on hold. And one thing I want to point out that this list kind of alludes to, this is something you're going to have to deal with. I purchased as many pre-owned games as possible when I was building the collection, either on sale or pre-owned, so I can make my budget go as far as possible. So I get as many games as I could possibly get. Now, unfortunately, pre-owned games have gone up dramatically in price since I purchased the bulk of our collection. But you can still see in this example I present in front of you right now that by purchasing pre-owned versus new, if I just did these and I bought them all pre-owned, I have enough left over for probably another title. I'd save close to about a good $50. But many librarians I've talked with do not buy pre-owned games. That's not something they do. They buy new games only. But again, because of their durability, and this is my opinion, of the Switch cartridge, I personally don't see a problem with buying pre-owned Switch games. We've not had any issues with them going bad or anything like that. We've never purchased a pre-owned and it came in not working or anything. But whether or not to buy pre-owned games to build out your collection is something that you're definitely going to have to make a decision on. So I just want to show you my reasoning, my thinking on why I think buying pre-owned is the way to go. Here's a list. Sorry, this is a wall of text, I know, but here's a list of 34, just 34 of the games I initially purchased. I purchased more than that, but I wanted to make the list readable. I didn't purchase any multiple copies to start with, but I started grabbing more copies as the hold started rolling in. I started seeing what was popular. I definitely recommend that you buy multiple copies of certain titles to start off with. That's something I would definitely do differently if I was doing it again today. And there's a pretty easy way of finding out what those popular titles are. Basically, I mean, there's a lot of resources you can use out there. You can go to Metacritic, you can go to the Video Game Awards website just to see what's popular. I tend to just go to GameStop's website or Best Buy's website and just filter for most popular, for best selling, for coming, soon kind of thing, just to see what people are buying, and get a feel for, what's popular and what's highly rated. Again, there's a lot of resources you can go with out there, but that's the way I did it. Seemed to work pretty well. Um, Yeah, you can see the like Animal Crossings. I purchased it initially, the second one on that list. I purchased for $45.99, and then later I purchased another copy because the holds were coming in, so I had to purchase it for $5 more because prices were going up. You can see on this slide I just presented before on number 8 there. If I was going to buy Animal Crossing pre-owned today, it's back up to 54, and 54 is like kind of like the standard now for like a new pre-owned game, or a game that's not even new, a popular pre-owned game. GameStop's just charging $54.99. I was getting much better deals than that when I was building the collection. But still, I still think that it's worth it to get that $5, sale or discount every purchase if you can. Now, obviously, there's no way of guaranteeing, what's popular for us will be popular for you, but it's video games and they're popular, internationally. So it's pretty likely. If you're curious what's checked out the most here in Billings, here's a report that my systems coordinator ran for me, showing our top 32 checked out titles. So if we were going to go just off of this list alone, I'd obviously recommend you kind of just start from the top. You buy 2 or 3 Nintendo Sports because they check out all the time. People love the game still. It's been out for a while and they still constantly check it out and love it. And again, Pokemon Arceus, definitely pick up 1 or 2 of that. Breath of the Wild, 1 or 2 of those. Those are what's checked out for us. I strongly, I don't know, I would think that they would check out well for you, but I wanted to show you that that's what we had. Or I guess that's what we're still experiencing with the popularity of our titles. That's my thoughts on how to make your budget go as far as possible, what to start with, the games that are, I think, the most popular. We're going to move on kind of quickly again to how we secure the collection. But if anybody has any questions right now on funding, how we got it or anything like that, or how to best spend their money, I'd be more than happy to talk about that before we move on.
Yeah, Joe, there's one question, and I think this is definitely where you're going to be heading and touching on this. But the question is about checking out consoles versus games. So that's probably a pretty good segue into the next section.
Absolutely. So we will get to that. I'm going to kind of close out on that, on the consoles part, but it is something that we did jump into. So yes, information coming on that. Okay, so we have an idea with funding and what we would do with the money, how much we need. We don't need that much. We pretty much start with whatever we have, and it'll work for you. So we've answered some questions on collection development. Hopefully, let's talk about collection maintenance. This is how we secured our collection and pretty much eliminated any potential for theft. And in this module as well, I'll describe our checkout process so you can get a feel for that. Now, of course, there are a number of ways, again, that you can secure your games and do it at your library. You'll definitely find your own. But what we decided to do is what the majority of other libraries have done. And we've had great success with it. And that's the dummy case method on display in this picture right here, in which all these cases are empty, right? And they represent the games currently available for checkout at the library. So now, just some quick pertinent information before I really get into it here. So games check out for 2 weeks at our library, and you can place holds on them, but you cannot renew them. That's the way the state has our games coded. I think they're technology, but of course you can ask for however you would want to have them coded, but that's how they work here in Billings. So when you want to check out a game, the way it works is pretty simple. The patron brings the case of the game, or 2, because that's our limit. You can check out 2 games that they want, to the second floor help desk. And we use a simple internal ID system that you can see on the game case there on the picture on the left. So this game is number 27. And all we do is we find the correct cartridge case that we keep in a drawer that has obviously number 27 would be kept within. And we just join them together. The cartridge goes in the case, we check the case out, and then the patient has it. That's it. Simple as that. Extremely easy. And there's that drawer, which we have 4 of these cases now because the games are up to, I think, about 120 or so now. And those are our holds, obviously. And I've come to find out after talking with other librarians that we're a little lucky to have enough storage space behind our second floor desk that allows us to keep all these cartridge cases and holds in a single locked drawer. Some libraries, though, can't mimic this approach because they don't have that same space. So while they still use the dummy case system, the cartridges might be kept in the back, is what I heard a lot of people say. We just keep them in the back, which obviously means something different to every library, but every library knows what that means for them, right? So every time a patron wants to check out a game, the staff just has to go to the back to get it or have it sent from the back, whatever it is that works for them. And although it's not done right there at the point of contact at the desk, so it might not be the fastest way, it might not be the most convenient. If that's what it takes to get a circulating video game collection at your library, then it's 100% worth it. No patron is going to complain because it took, time to get the game from the back. They're just going to be happy to have the collection. So again, this is one of those things where this is how we do it in Billings. However you do it is going to be however you do it, and it'll work, and you'll be happy with it, I'm sure. And then checking the game in, when a game comes down the belt, we just check to make sure the cartridge is inside before running it down the sorter. And if a cartridge is missing, we just treat it the same way that we would a missing DVD or a missing CD. Or if maybe somebody checked out 2 games and they put the wrong cartridge in the case, then we treat it the same way we would that incorrect DVD in a case would be treated. But if everything is good after being sorted, we just put it into this basket that everything intended for the second floor gets put into. And then once upstairs, it's just the same order in reverse. We take the cartridges out of the case, they go back in the cartridge case, and the game cases go back out on the table because they're available for checkout again. If a hold is trigger, I guess the holds, we double check the cartridges in there. If it is, we slap the sticker on it, and in the drawer it goes. So the checkout and check-in process is extremely easy. There's not been any problems with it that have come to my attention. We all pretty much blast right through it. So one last thing I want to point out though is something important. We definitely had to figure out a solution for it. So with the dummy case method, it's the game case itself, right, on the left here in this picture, that's protected from theft. It's not the cartridge, obviously. There's no room to put a 3M sticker on the cartridge. And I don't know of any type of Stingray system that exists for Switch cartridges like there is for DVDs and CDs. So I bring this up to, one, emphasize the importance of protecting these cartridges and creating some sort of a system that makes it very hard for patrons to have direct access to them, obviously. But also to point out that you might have a similar problem that we had early on, where patrons were checking out empty cases and then getting all the way home. And as we all well know, sometimes that's an hour plus away, only to find out that they had a Nintendo case with no cartridge in it because they didn't take it to the desk. They just grabbed the empty case, treated it like a DVD, or whatever else, and then checked it out without the cartridge. So we created this sign just to kind of really put an emphasis on the fact that cartridges are not in the cases. Please check them out at the desk. And it actually worked extremely well for signage to have that kind of an impact. Kind of impressive, actually, I think, that it actually worked. So the number of people checking out these empty cases has dropped significantly just, by telling people they're not in there. I don't think it happens that often at all anymore. So just something for you to consider. One of those things that we learned as time went on and we had to adjust to. Now the rub. Of course, no system is perfect. We do have games that go lost. And as you can see, one of our consoles was checked out and never came back. You know, that's a bummer, but that's part of it. But overall, since we've started the collection, very few games have actually gone to lost and then never come back. So even these on our current lost list, I would expect most of them are checked out to one patron. I would expect most of them to come back just when the patron finally does it. And no cartridges for that, you know, for that matter, have ever gone or been stolen, I should say, from the library, because we just keep them in that locked drawer. So we've never had any concern with theft. So final thoughts, closing it up, just some of the last things on my mind, and then we'll go to questions. We've had 2,817 circulations since creating the collection. My systems coordinator once again ran me those stats this morning, so those are the most up to date as we could get. So since May of 2022, is that where we're at? Yeah, May of 2022, we've had 2,800 circulations, which, given how much we've spent on the physical cartridges, gives us about $1.81 cost per checkout, which I'm told is not that bad. We all hear positive feedback regularly from our patrons. Patrons have told us how they've taken the leap and purchased a Switch for the family because they know that they won't have to keep purchasing the expensive games on their own. They can check them out for free at the library, or they can, again, test them at the library to see if it's something they want to actually make a purchase on their own for, which is great. A patron once told me and a colleague how our game collection keeps his brother, who is currently sick at the hospital at the time, occupied with something that he, not just something to do, but something he really wanted to do. So the brother would come in and just check out a couple of games every so often. That made us feel fantastic. And there's also the constant comments of people kind of amazed that the library has video games, and it's always positive. You know, kids come in pumped to pick up their holds, adults come in pumped to pick up their holds. The feedback from our patrons has been outstanding. I really know of only one complaint so far. We do currently have 4 Switch consoles available for checkout with, I think, about 28 holds on them. So the holds ratio is a little high, but I think we're going to get another console pretty soon to replace the one that went lost. So when we first got our consoles, it was still very likely that all of our games, which were 90 at the time, were constantly checked out. So to make sure that people had something to actually play when their console came available, we were going to include 2 physical cartridges, like a Nintendo Sports and a Super Mario Odyssey. I said, I think what we were going to do, we were just going to slip them right into those little nodules right there in the case. So people would have something to actually play when their whole came available. But we later thought against that, because that would be 2 more components that could easily be lost or forgotten or misplaced or whatever, potentially turning a very fun experience into a very bad one when they found out that now we have to charge them for the games and all that kind of stuff. So what we did instead is we purchased 13 digital copies of games and just downloaded them, pre-installed them right to the Switch. So now when you check out a console from us, it just comes preloaded with like 13 games. And then they can also check out additional titles, 2 additional titles if they want. Now, when you get to the point where you start considering consoles, and they also check out for 2 weeks, you can put a hold on them. There's no renewals. We just have them fill out a form, sign their name, go over a list of, you know, what we expect and the replacement fee for all those items. But when you get to that point where you start considering consoles, and I'm sure you will, the temptation will be too great for you as well. You can definitely do what we did, but I also strongly encourage you to contact Elizabeth over at the Lewis and Clark Library in Helena. They really have some great ideas on how to manage consoles within the video game collection. She might be in the chat with us today. And she's just been a wonderful resource. Everybody in Lewis and Clark was, that they were such a huge part of giving me information on how to do all this. So massive shout out to Lewis and Clark. But they have great ideas on how to build a video game collection and maintain it. So definitely reach out to them as well. Please feel free to contact me with any thoughts or for a more involved discussion on anything I did not cover today. I'm also doing a longer webinar on this with Web Junction on February 22nd. I think we might have a link for that as well. And I'll just be going more into detail on some of the points I couldn't go into today. And also talking with the chat. I'm expecting quite a few people to have video game collections in the chat so we can talk about how it's going for them. And with that, it's a wrap. I'm more than happy to spend our remaining time together answering questions. And thank you very much for coming out and being with me.
Thank you so much, Joe. I know that folks have thoughts and questions in that, and Elizabeth is with us. And so if there were
Right on.
questions that anyone would like to unmute and ask before we wrap up the recording portion, I just welcome you to do that. I think, thinking about what you're able to do in Billings, which is, one of our larger libraries in the state, there may be some questions about, how to scale this for the medium or small library. That's one thing. I don't know if between you and Elizabeth, you wanted to potentially address that question.
I'll just jump in on that and say, like, I really want to emphasize, I try to put a really big one on it, but I will once again, make the point that it doesn't matter how much you start with. You can start with 10 games. I started with 45. You can definitely scale to whatever you think would be within your budget. I think the budget is the biggest concern. If you spent $500 and bought 10 games, they'll check out. People put holes on, they'll check them out, they'll be gone. So really can start with whatever I think is comfortable within your budget. I don't really think that there's like a certain amount that you should feel compelled to start with. I can't do this unless I can, start with 20 or so games. I don't think that's the case, and it'll be great, again, a great proof of concept once you see them immediately taken and checked out.
Yeah, and there's one clarifying question from John. Did you start with games and then add consoles later, or both at once?
No, we started just with games. We rolled out 45. We quickly expanded to more within like the next month. Because again, they were very popular. We purchased more and more games. I think we went until the next fiscal year. So maybe about 5 or 6 months before we decided consoles next. So we definitely didn't start all with consoles. But once I had the stats to show my management that, how popular they were, and they already knew, they were right on board with it. They were very favorable to the collection. Selling the consoles was not that hard. It was definitely like the next step. But we did not do it in conjunction at the start.
Great. And I know Elizabeth has her name up. I don't know if you wanted to add to that, but Matt also is asking if you're offering programming that utilizes this collection. So not just the checkouts and circulation, but do you have programming around gaming in the library?
And I can't wait to hear from Elizabeth. We have not done too much in the way of programming. I know our teen tech librarian ran or helped run a Smash Brothers contest or competition at one point, and we handed out some extra video games that we had purchased, not for the collection, but just as prizes. We handed those out for the winners. So there have been some, but that's kind of like the promise of it as well. The more and more that we have libraries, I think in Montana, picking doing a collection like this, I'm so very, I don't know, excited about the idea of having like a Mario Kart tournament and finding out who who the best Mario Kart player in Montana, the Montana library system is. There's so many potentials for that, where it's, again, family friendly games and stuff, but I think multitudes of people would show up for, and it could be a really serious competition. So there's so much potential for programming.
Yeah, there might be some volunteers in this group here from around the state that would like to participate. But Elizabeth, if you're able to unmute, please go right ahead.
Sure, can you hear me?
Yes, sounds great.
Great job, Joe.
Thank you.
I just, for the programming, we just got a teen librarian actually who started this week. So I know she's really interested in doing that. But we had like a Pokemon Go program this week for adults where people use their own devices, and it was really popular. So I talked to Joe about really wanting to do programs, not just for teens, but for adults too, especially adults, I think, who are like maybe in their 20s, right? And kind of aged out of that teen group. But just going back to that question about starting a collection, the system before the one I worked at now only had a few video games, but I told Joe they circulated so well still. So I think it's just signage and letting your patrons know, and the games
Yes.
check themselves out, you know?
I think it's really powerful to think about, the potential for programming, making these available, but this is really an intergenerational sort of activity, whether it's people checking out the collection and using it. Video games are not, like you said, Elizabeth, not just for teens. We have now generations of people who have grown up with gaming and certainly came up with Nintendo in particular. But yeah, I think that will be really cool to see as we move forward and as different libraries want to build these collections and provide the support, that just the type of intergenerational interest that we'll have, and that sort of publicity and engagement with our libraries doesn't hurt anyone.
Agreed. And a lot, and again, every library does it differently, and you'll definitely do it your way. Some librarians, break up the budgeting, children's handles children's games, and then if there are T&M ready games, then those specific departments handle those. But we don't do it that way. We just have it all basically within the adult AV budget. But again, whatever works best for you. The emphasis once again is it doesn't matter how you do it. It's such a almost a guarantee. I'd love to hear, and this is terrible. I mean, I don't want you to do it and then somehow it doesn't work, but I would love to hear that it didn't, because nobody has reported back that it doesn't. These games are so very popular by people, again, of all ages. And you'll be very surprised to find out maybe that so many adults are into it as well. It's very cool. So yeah.
Absolutely. So thank you so much. I know we're a little bit over on our time, but this was such a great program, just new ideas and something to really think about as we're planning budgets ahead for next year. Just really briefly too, I want to thank everybody and let you know that we have all of these places that you can find out more information about our upcoming webinar series. And that recording will be in the MSL YouTube channel, and that will show up a little bit later this afternoon. We have an evaluation survey. Please share your thoughts. I did include a link in the chat a little bit earlier if you would like to share those thoughts. We have so many webinars coming up in January and February. And as Joe mentioned, he's also doing an extended session with Web Junction on February 22nd. So just really encourage you to share that and to take a look at that webinar as well. If you have any questions about our offerings or any questions about how to claim credit for certification for the State Library, you can reach out to me and I'm happy to answer your questions. With that, I can't thank you, Joe, enough for the preparation and the time and your enthusiasm for sharing with us today. And just big thanks to Billings Public Library and your administration for supporting our connection this way. These sorts of things help make these real for all of us. So with that, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.